Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farooq Pitafi. Usually we talk about political issues in this program, but there are days when economics actually takes over. Today is one such day, and we are going to talk about the Finance Supplementary Second Amendment Bill of 2019 that was presented in the Parliament today. It is important because the current government, when it took over, didn't have the kind of fiscal space, and the previous government actually pledged an entire year's budget. After that, we saw one amendment, but this time the government seems to have the kind of fiscal space. Finally, it has gained it, and that's why it is introducing the kind of interventions that were needed for the rejuvenation of economy, for the growth of economy, simultaneously also trying to simplify the tax code and trying to bring the macroeconomic stabilization in the country. So today there were many important aspects, but instead of actually telling you about them, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the guests that I have in the studio, and then I'm going to ask them to comment on today's proposals that are going to be adopted by the Parliament eventually. In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by Javed Siddique Saab, a senior journalist, has spent a life covering these matters. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Haider Mehdi Saab. He is an anchor himself. He is also a business consultant and an avid geopolitical blogger. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Faisal Fateh, an economist, has been regular on this show and this channel. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Javed Siddique Saab, I have to start with you. Your first take on today's presentation.
I think unlike the perception that was being created and promoted by the opposition circles, that the finance minister will come to announce a new set of taxes and the burden will have to be borne by the common persons. I think that has proven to be wrong. And the finance minister has come with a finance bill which announces so many incentives, so many concessions for the business community in Pakistan.
Especially the SME sector?
SME sector. And also I think some tax rates have been lowered, which is a good news for the business community. And I believe that these steps that have been announced today are aimed at creating an environment to do the business more vigorously, and I think to give incentives to the people who are going to invest in Pakistan and who are going to be helpful in promoting business in Pakistan. Because previously the government was being criticized that it is taking measures which are not friendly for the business community. So these steps, I believe, will play a very important role in giving incentives to invest more money in Pakistan. For instance, the filers, the non-filers have been asked or have been given the opportunity to buy cars, up to 300 cc. Also, they can buy property worth 5 million rupees. And these kinds of incentives are good and they are being welcomed.
Yeah, but one has to actually make one's mind, because there are times when we see that maybe such bans are essential to broaden the tax base, and there are other moments when we think other way around. I'm going to talk about that, but let me bring in Haider Mehdi Saab. Sir, your take on the budget, your opening remarks.
Sir, thank you very much. Farooq Saab, I actually don't see this as a mini budget. I actually see this as perhaps the base that the government wanted to set for their economic reforms agenda. This is not a mini budget. This is really an economic reforms agenda. And I just want to highlight one point at this point, which I think is the single biggest factor that's going to generate massive economic activity. You know, credit is the lifeblood of any business activity. That is like blood is to us and cash flow is to businesses. What they've done is they've actually, the incentive that they've given to banks by reducing their income tax slab on profits that they earn from lending to the SME business, the small industry, and to the agriculture sector, which really is the backbone of Pakistan's economy, is outstanding. That reduction from 39% to 20% now gives banks a much greater incentive to lend to these sectors. And I just want to share a statistic with you that, you know, the bank lending today in Pakistan, 70% of its lending goes to the government of Pakistan,
right,
you know, through T-bills.
The government actually crowds out other borrowers.
Exactly. So, and this is a very safe credit investment for banks because, you know, it's guaranteed by the sovereign state. And only 6% goes to the SME sector and 6% really to the agriculture sector, and the rest 18% goes to the big corporates. So we've crowded out the small. By doing this, they're providing a lifeblood and a lifeline to these two sectors, which really was going to kickstart activity in this sector.
And agriculture?
And agriculture, both. Yep. So both the profitability that these banks earn on lending to agriculture and to the small business sector has been reduced, has been halved from 39% to 20%. Right. So the banks will now go out searching for clients within the SME sector.
That will be an ideal situation.
That's an ideal situation.
Let me bring in Faisal Fateh, your take so far.
I think it's pretty good. I think what government is trying to do is trying to change the narrative in the market.
Okay.
And once government came, this new government came, the market, especially traders, retail, everybody felt the jolts. Because we have seen the devaluation, very sharp devaluation in the rupee, and we have seen so many speculation happening in the market.
That devaluation actually started with the previous government's last finance minister. Is it not true?
That's true. I'm not going to say who started when.
Yeah, but
I'm not. But the issue is, what I'm trying to say is the market was really in a negative mode. And all of this finance bills, it has a revenue impact of what, minus 5 billion rupees. It's not huge, right? But the signaling is huge. Right, the signaling is that we are pro-business and we are confident in our management. We are not going to raise too many taxes on you and we are not going to stifle the economy. I think so that signaling is very important. It's just 5 billion rupees here and so it's done very smartly. Credit goes to the government that just with 5 billion rupees they have created a huge signal. And that signal, if it transfers, like the...
Is it going to transfer?
Look, what they are trying to say, what they're trying to do is they have given incentive to stock market.
Right.
So you will be seeing a lot more positive news from the stock market.
Today it was like in a bullish mode.
So it will be some good things that you will be covering coming, I think, in future next 6 months. And other than that, I think the incentives they have given to low housing, as gentleman just said, to farm credit and stuff like that. So they want the economy, they want the retail economy to start picking up, start functioning as it was functioning before. And sentiment is very important in any economy. I think so the whole effort done over here is to make that sentiment positive so that people can start trading.
And what do you make of 1800cc onward cars being taxed something around 25%?
Look,
it's a big number, is it not?
Yeah, but what they are trying to do is, of course, you can do away without 1800cc cars when your current account deficit is so high.
I can, you can, not everybody can. The elite actually use car as a status symbol.
No, but you have to, right? What else you're going to cut? If you want to cut on import, what else you're going to cut, right? You cannot cut on machinery, you cannot cut on stuff like that. On the other hand, they are giving duty drawbacks. And mind you, the trade policy, which was supposed to come out between 2019, the 5-year trade policy, where we were supposed to withdraw the duty from more than 150 items. We weren't able to do that back in July because we didn't have the fiscal space to do that. And we haven't still done that. We still don't have the current account space to do that.
Can we say that the actual vision of the government is still to come? Because it is going to work on the macroeconomic stabilization. It is going to restructure a lot of things as well. It has to still simplify the tax code.
Of course, but it won't be done in one day. I think so. What they are trying to say is we are confident enough. We don't need to raise taxes at this time. We won't be taking dictation from IMF. We won't be putting...
Thank you very much for bringing up IMF. right at the moment when I thought that we are going to talk about that, sir. The finance minister says that we might go to IMF, but we are not going to be dictated by their terms now. Why do you think he believes that is possible?
I think he's confident enough that probably with the conditionality imposed on Pakistan by IMF is not acceptable to this government.
No, I understand
and
that.
I believe that
we had a shortfall of $8 to $12 billion, right?
Exactly.
And what has happened is we have gone to...
they have made alternative arrangements.
Saudi Arabia, 1 billion.
And 3 billion now UAE.
Yeah, 3 months, 3 billion.
Exactly.
Okay.
Plus, I
billion.
think they are expecting something from Qatar as well, because that has been a very productive visit.
Okay.
So they are quite comfortable, and that's why they have gained confidence, and probably that is why their narrative has changed, that we are not going to accept the harsh conditions imposed by IMF on Pakistan.
Do we have any precedent of that?
We don't have any. I think the previous governments were bound to accept all conditionalities. The PMLN government, People's Party government, and other governments have always accepted these conditions. They had to raise tariffs in Pakistan. And to widen the tax base, they had to take so many other steps, and which had burdened the common people here in Pakistan. I think the PTI government is avoiding that, and it's a good news. It's a positive news.
For whom?
That
For the people?
For the people, yes.
Right.
And I think their political opponents as well, because if they had accepted those kind of conditions by IMF, probably the opposition would have a chance to put the government on the mat that they are accepting these conditions.
But the opposition doesn't seem consolable. Even today, there was,
huge
a mayhem.
Cry.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think they didn't have any strong case against the government as far as this finance bill is concerned. They were actually thinking that the government will come out with some more taxes which are going to affect the common people, and then they will be criticizing the government. They will subject them to harsh criticism, and probably they were trying to cash in on that situation. The government did not provide them that opportunity.
The government did not. Haider Mehdi Saab, if you want to add to...
Gigi, I certainly would. So I want to keep the opposition mayhem to one side. That was just really like a fish market. There's there's nothing substantive in it. I just want to roll back a little bit to Daronomics. Daronomics really was nothing else but generate revenue as much as we can, and really...
without solving the problem.
Without solving the underlying systemic problem that we had.
Yeah.
Pakistan's problem is that our industry was destroyed, right? Our local industry. We actually became a consumer economy. More than, I think, 87% of our imports really was very transactional, based on consumerism. Now, we'll look at the substantive work that this government is, and I want to just highlight two things that they've done. All greenfield projects, meaning all projects that any industry will now put up afresh, whether it's textile or any other, will have the following benefits. They are going to be free of duty on their plant machinery equipment. That's huge, massive.
Might help SEZs as well.
Exactly. And the other thing is that they've also been given a 5-year tax holiday on their sales tax. Now, can you imagine what's going to happen in Pakistan when such massive incentives are given to the industry to come and put their business, and they know that the taxes have been lowered? The second point is that, this Daronomics again, a company makes profit, then it issues dividends and pays income tax on that, right? Then it passes on its profit to its holding company. The amount they actually pass on to their holding company, on which they've already paid tax, FBR comes again and says, you have to pay us 15% on top of that.
Was it?
Now,
was it actually Daronomics, or was it something that he also inherited?
No. He had complete freedom.
Okay.
And let me just tell you, the same holding company now pays tax, gives dividends, and the balance that is left, again, they have a super tax on a super tax. That has been done away with. And I completely agree with you when you said, there's going to be a very, very bullish trend on the stock exchange, because this is going to have a really positive impact on the stock exchange. It's going to have a really positive impact on industry. And allied with what I said earlier, is that once the credit is available to the SME and the agriculture center, I think it's going to have a huge impact. Now, one can always conjecture that it may not work, right?
Okay.
The principles may not work. But seeing everything on ground, and as we see it, this is what the business has been asking for. I think there's one negative on this bill. If you allow me, should I say it now or later?
Please go ahead.
I think the one negative that really stands out as a kind of a scar on this is that the previous government did one good job, right? In the Shahid Khaqan Abbasi's tenure. What they'd done was that importers who grossly undervalue under invoice were originally, they had to pay a 6% on the invoiced value, and that was their full and final settlement of all tax liability to the government. And they were also exempted from filing a tax return against that. The previous government did a good job. They reduced it to 2%. They said, pay 2%, but it is not going to be a full and final payment.
Okay.
You will still have to file tax. If you have more tax to pay, with this 2% will be adjusted. Now, Asad Umar Saab and the task force, which I must commend.
They have revised it, yeah.
They revived, and I think that is their the revenue that they've been losing. This is a small tactical poison chalice, I think they have taken to actually revive the 6%. The 6% tax, our estimated under-invoicing only from China is $6 billion annually.
Yeah, but before I go to Faisal, one important thing. You said that previous government had, import-led growth, and that was totally consumer-led growth.
Correct.
The problem is, when we used to talk to that government, at that time they used to say SROs. And there are so many SROs, we are just trying to actually simplify them.
But
and we are not actually providing relief to importers.
But they didn't. They actually didn't. They didn't do a single thing. In fact, they actually if you look at the report published by the Pakistan Business Council, headed by Ahsan Malik, a wonderful, fine, absolutely, one day you should invite him, and he will give you a really detailed rundown on what has happened to industry in Pakistan. They said that if anyone has really destroyed business, and the PMLN government was supposed to be very pro-business, but I think they were very pro-business to the trading community, not to the manufacturing sector.
Wow.
And the trading community really...
That is quite an indictment, actually.
I mean...
It is quite an indictment. Agree
the facts tell you that.
Yeah. Faisal, coming back to you. Withholding tax and waiver of withholding tax on filers. What exactly does it mean for the economy?
You mean withholding tax regarding...
financial transactions.
Non-filers.
Okay, on non-filer, the banking transactions and
Yeah, actually they say that they have removed this issue.
Of course,
withdrawn from the filers.
Yes.
They were also paying withholding tax.
I think that's a good move. It's a sensible move. If you are a filer and you're filing taxes, you should not be penalized when you are withdrawing your money, your hard-earned money, which you have put on the banks. And what was happening was the people, especially trading community or even students, they have a bank account. Even if you become a filer, what's the incentive of becoming a filer?
Okay.
Right? And
is there a fear that once you have been actually listed, you have become a filer, you will be regularly audited, and there's a possibility every year you might be audited?
Of course, that's a fear. That's why not many people are filers, right? That is the fear.
What do you think the government is doing to assure people that this will not happen? Because I met one doctor actually hailing from PTI, and he keeps on saying that for past 7 years, every year I'm audited.
Right. I think so. For that, you need to overhaul the FBR.
Okay.
Right, and right now I don't think so that government have that kind of, I won't say political capital, but that kind of a space that it can just go and overhaul the FBR in one go.
Yeah, but they are trying doing something, separating policy from administration.
Of course, they are doing it, but it's going to be gradual, it's going to be stepwise. And of course, that fear, it's not just in Pakistan, the fear is everywhere. Wherever you are becoming a filer, wherever you are leaving a document where you can be chased after that document, nobody wants to do that. It's not just in Pakistan, it's all over the world.
Yeah.
But issue is, all over the world, you cannot survive without filing that document. In Pakistan, you can. So I think it
No,
requires.
but in all over the world, especially in the US, they have the coercive part as well. We don't seem to have that kind of coercion now. It usually is, if you're a filer, you can be audited. If you're not a filer, you will be repeatedly reminded, but where's the coercion?
In US, you go to jail.
They hound you. They hound you,
No,
literally.
they really send cops at your door and they take
exactly.
you to jail.
So
There's
should
no
we
two
bring
ways.
that element back?
No, I don't think so. I think so. There is such a huge market of non-filers.
Okay.
If you put it in the sense of a market, right? There are so many non-filers that I don't think it makes a lot of sense to right now sending cops at their doors. I think so by
Not
incentivizing.
cops. After Sahiwal, maybe not cops.
Yeah, no.
Anybody else, perhaps?
Yeah, after things so by incentivizing people to become a filer and by reducing the burden of tax on the filers, you can encourage people to become filers.
Okay.
I think so. This
No,
is what,
I had another very interesting idea. Iftihar Chaudhary, I hope you remember him. He introduced this idea of sending transsexuals to the gates of people
Yeah,
who are loan defaulters. Is there a possibility of tax defaulters being treated that way?
this is what happened in India.
In India.
Yeah. But I think so. The market of non-tax filers is so huge, and there are so many ways that you can penetrate that market.
You're talking about informal sector.
Yeah, informal sector. Like how many people really pay taxes in Pakistan? If you look at the income tax, it's not even more than 1 million people, right? And most of them are filing near
A
income
lion's
tax.
share is actually us,
A salaried
the
class
people who are
people.
salaried class,
Right.
and their taxes are deducted
Right.
at source.
So to penetrate that huge market, do you really need such drastic steps? I don't think so. I think so. You need to first of all, you need to simplify how to file taxes. It needs to be simplified.
It is very difficult.
Right. You
Very
and I, we
lobbyist
file taxes, we
complicated.
know how difficult it is, right? It needs to be simplified, it needs to be incentivized, and the incidence on tax on the filers, even on the businesses. I'll just give you example what happened with stock exchange. We were used to be charged with CVT. First they came, they said, we are going to charge you capital gain tax. We said, no, don't charge the capital gains tax. So they said, okay, we'll charge you CVT capital value tax. So we said, okay. And after that, after 2 years, they said, no, we are going to charge you CGT capital gains tax as well. And we made hue and cry that kindly take away the CVT if you're going to charge the CGT.
Yeah.
But CVT didn't go away, CGT came in.
Okay.
And after a few years, we were told that you have to pay presumptive tax as well. The one which got
The advanced,
abolished right now, right?
The advanced tax.
The advanced tax of 0.02%. So when you keep on squeezing the tax paying, the formal economy, how can you ask somebody who doesn't file the tax, how can you change his perception to become a tax filer?
Right.
Right?
I remember for past 10 years at least, everybody who has come here, when they talk about tax reform, they talk about automation. They talk about connecting all the sources so that you have the network, and in the end, you have the data to assess who is not filing. Why do you think it doesn't happen?
I think what I've seen and experienced in the last 30 years, so many methods have been introduced in Pakistan to broaden the tax base.
Like what?
For instance, the voluntary scheme that was introduced by Dr. Mahbubullah,
Yeah.
that if you declare
Revived by Pervez Musharraf.
exactly, but that didn't yield the desired results. I mean, the tax income, tax revenue that the government was aiming at reduced further, and it went down. So they had to replace it with the old scheme. And the dilemma in Pakistan has been that to broaden the tax base, so many methods, so many strategies have been tried here, but they didn't work. And bringing more people into TaxNet and making people to file the returns, that has been a problem here in Pakistan.
Right.
I think something new has to be done. I mean,
Like what?
out of the box solution has to be found.
You have introduced amnesties,
for instance, yes.
voluntary schemes,
Yes.
umpteen other things.
Other things,
Nothing
but
works.
didn't work. So one of the ideas that has been discussed in the business circles and in the industrial circles has been to lower the tax rates so that you can bring more people into the tax net. But I don't think that has been tried very seriously in Pakistan in the last 20 to 30 years. If they try it and if PTI government tries this, it might yield results. There are other incentives which you could offer to the people who are not in the tax net and who are not filers. If you incentivize them, probably they could come and file more taxes.
This idea of carrots doesn't seem to be working. You have to have a stick as well. Where's
Exactly.
the stick?
But when the stick is tried, again the business community and the industrialists, they react in a very negative way.
Okay.
And they
Flight of capital?
Flight of capital, that starts. And that is one of the serious and consequence of using the stick that you are talking about.
I just want to
with
say,
your permission, very quickly. Yeah.
I just want to say the stick is again just for the filers.
Okay.
They
Yeah,
are right.
exactly.
The stick
That
is not
point
for
is
the
well
non-filers.
made. Even the government says that
Right.
we keep on squeezing the same people again and again, but stick is lacking somehow. Sir,
No, I think you're absolutely right, and really just taking your point forward and Javed Sah's point forward. The stick and the carrot has to be in a way that it really impacts the individual and urges them to do what the behavior change that you want. I'm a change management guy, right?
Yeah.
So we do what are called nudges. You give somebody a nudge and you're done. Now, how do you incentivize a non-filer? You can have a very draconian measure like there is in the US or Australia or North America, Europe, where you say no, not filing a tax return is a crime. And if you don't file a tax return, you are liable to be a crime. So that can happen. I don't know what will happen. But more than in terms of a really graduated response, it's like boiling the frog, right? So people don't feel the heat, but they're boiled. They're going to start a pilot project in Islamabad exactly for this purpose. And to say, simplify the tax regime, as you said, that is really, so that even a panwala who has, Bismillah Pan House in F6 or wherever, though that guy can file a tax return, doesn't have to go to a tax lawyer, has a very simple regime that he can do that. Now, and I know that
automation, sir.
And yes, so I'm just coming to that. And the next thing is automation. In change we say people, process, technology. Get the right people, get the right process, get the right technology, and you can get your deliverables. So the FBR reform is really people process. I don't think the FBR reform is in place to the extent that they're able to completely revamp the processes, even though they've separated administration, policy, and revenue generation, which is good. So if the pilot project in Islamabad is successful in terms of including these people, that's very good. Now
and how long will this pilot project last?
I think this pilot project, and I just talked to a few people, I said, is it going to be the whole year? I think they're saying it's going to be till the next time September comes, then they're going to have a very clear picture. If they find earlier that it is successful, doing really well, they're going to start pilot projects in the major cities like Sialkot, Faisalabad, Gujarat, Gujranwala, these.
Karachi?
Yes, absolutely Karachi. Sorry, I missed that out. But I just want to add one last point to the non-filer bit. A lot of people would criticize that why have you given this incentive to non-filers to be able to buy, cars.
1300cc car.
I think this is a very good thing. You cannot completely get this massive sector out of the whole revenue generating fee. They'll be charged extra, but they've been given a very limited incentive, right? If you do, up to 1300 you can, or 5. So I think that is also an incentive, and it's also a disincentive for these people to come. And I think eventually these people are going to come into the tax net. On this IMF thing, my last point, my estimates from what we've been hearing, I think they've got about an $18 billion fiscal space from China, Saudi Arabia,
18
UAE. 18 billion.
That's a new number.
No, well,
nobody
you see,
even is hinting at it.
China is 6, Saudi Arabia is 3 plus 3, UAE is 3, and I think with the with the way they're renegotiating the LNG piece and this other, I think that's another 3 billion. So I mean, anything is definitely between 15 and 18. they may not go to the IMF, but I think they should go to the IMF.
Right.
The IMF stamp of approval is
yeah.
really critical for our economy.
Letter of confidence.
Letter of confidence. When we go out looking for more funds, we launch a bond, we launch a sukuk, the interest rate is low.
Right. And you want to add something?
I just wanted to say that something has to be done with FBR.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah,
that
but we have
that
been
has been
hearing that for
that's one
18 years,
organization.
sir. We have been hearing this. It was CBR.
Yeah.
Pervez Musharraf changes it
FBR.
into FBR.
Yeah.
We have been listening to automation, all this talk.
Exactly.
Nobody does anything about it.
But I think
And the second thing is NIC. And this, income tax number.
Yes.
Somehow this shift hasn't been there. They keep on talking
Unfortunately, it
about
hasn't been there, but something has to be done. I mean, the Prime Minister, Imran Khan, has been saying that he is going to revamp the FBR so that it works more efficiently and more tax revenues are collected.
How?
And this
Are we
machinery...
going to bring new people?
no, I don't know what plan he has in his mind, but I think FBR...
What is in your mind?
FBR needs to be revamped and overhauled. Okay. And I think...
How?
I mean, make it more efficient organization. One of the
There is a workforce in PIA. There is a workforce in FBR. How do you
one of the
work with
problems
that?
has been the corruption and the collusion of the FBR staff with the people who are paying taxes or the taxpayers.
So if I am corrupt for 20 years, am I going to transform into
you
a
may,
very honest
you may
man
replace
overnight?
You may replace the people,
Yes.
or you may do something else. I mean, making the tax filing, returns filing a simpler process, automation, all these things, technologies, these could be tried actually to get more revenues from the people of Pakistan.
Right. That is important, and theoretically it is correct, but one has to see the operationalization of the idea as well. I'm going to come to you, but let me first go to Haider Mehdi Saab. You want to say something?
Farooq, in the best of environments, and I worked in the best of environments in private sector, I've consulted for over nearly 50 companies, where the CEO has full authority, he has a professional team. When you try to bring in new processes, especially associated with technology and a completely redirection of the organization, it takes 3 years. Okay, and this is experience of 25 years. Here you're talking of a public sector organization that is grossly corrupted, as Javed Saab said. And like you said, 20 years this guy has been eating, money on the side. If you're paying 20 lakh rupees tax, he says, you know what, I can make it 10 and, let's share the other 10, give me two.
I've seen that magic
And
happening
you see
in
that
front of me.
now, but let me tell
This
you
is
the
common knowledge.
Well, let me tell you the flip side. Every behavioral change is driven by context and environment.
Right.
Look at the GT road traffic and look at the motorway traffic. You and I are first world citizens on the GT road. We wear our seat belts. We won't exceed 125.
On motorway.
On the motorway, sorry, on the motorway. Absolutely. And the moment the barrier goes up and it's, you're this and you're that and my this and my that. On the GT road, you and I, same people, will be driving very, very differently. And this research about behavior has been tested for decades and centuries, that if you create the right environment, people's, doesn't matter how corrupt they've been, doesn't matter what their value system is, they will respond to the context that is created.
But many of them will be removed because you believe in accountability also.
And
if they are corrupt, they will be removed.
And no, here's another example. A friend of mine sells Sui gas meters, and their family has been selling gas meters to the public sector for maybe 4 decades. And I met him recently again, he's a good friend, and he says, I can tell you within 1 month of a new government coming into power whether it's more corrupt or less corrupt. And I said, how? He said, the same Naib Qasid, the same supervisor, the same clerk, the same assistant manager charges me more money or less money, depending on how strict.
But still charges money.
Okay.
That is the point to be made.
Okay, but maybe the punitive action isn't strong enough. And I'm honestly telling you, even in the US, look at Katrina when it hit New Orleans. What happened when the state was not there and the writ of the state vanished for 10 days,
Right.
those people became animals. They were cutting off, chopping off people's hands to take off rings because their bodies had been, I'm sorry, it's morbid.
The dead people.
The dead people. This is
Not the alive ones.
look at the Hutus and the Tutsis in Rwanda.
That's
2
horrible
million
story.
people hacked to death with knives and chops.
Yeah.
It's a model democracy today. They
Yeah,
can-
but what I gather from your comment is, there are 2 binaries. One is you want to have reforms or you want to have growth. Another binary is, do you want to go for accountability or do you want to go for growth?
honestly, they're
Pervez
not mutually inclusive.
Pervez Musharraf left accountability to one side and then he went for growth. Are you recommending that let systemic corruption be a small footnote and focus on
I
the
am telling
growth?
you that if the FBR is reformed in the way that we're saying, there is a complete people change and they'll have to get some good people at the top. I mean, without it, nothing happens. Get the right processes in place, get the right technology platforms. There has to be an iron wall between the tax filer and the guy in the income tax. So this guy doesn't have that punitive power to come to you and say, I can make life really difficult for you.
Right.
If you don't pay me money, even though you're one of our highest taxpayers.
Right. Faisal, I've discussed economies since so many budgets. And my hair it literally turned grey and then black again. But things that we are...
You must tell me what the secret is.
But things that we keep on talking about are great in theory. But the problem, the humble submission is, theories are theories. One day you have to see their, efficacy and their practical aspect as well. In Pakistan for 5 years, exporters kept on telling us, go for devaluation of currency. If you don't do it, your exports will not pick up. And yet we saw, dramatic devaluation during the previous government, even now. But we didn't see the corresponding picking up in the exports. So how do you make sure that whatever good things we are discussing actually pay off as well?
I think so when we talk about devaluation and devaluation impacting the exports, if you look overall, our major export is textile and we don't export anything else pretty much, right?
So we have to diversify the portfolio. Is it what you're saying?
No, that is like, again, the bookish thing we have been discussing for the last 15 years.
Yeah,
What I'm
but
trying to say is, this devaluation that happened, India rupee has been performing, it is like the one of the most worst performing currency.
It had a stumble.
Right? And it has been at its lowest point. So in any ways, when you talk about your competitors and they are going through that phase, you had to devalue your rupee. And because you didn't devalue it within the last 5 years, right? So you had to take a big chunk in devaluation.
30%.
Right. And it's not going to affect exports within, within 3 months or 4 months. It takes a lot of time. It takes...
No, but at least you start seeing some kind of, pull factor taking over.
I think so. We started
We don't see even the pull factor right now, do we?
I think we started seeing the pull factor when it actually started when Chinese exports got taxed by US.
Okay.
And right now our export to US, especially even in textile, they are minimum. They are not that much. A huge chunk goes to Europe. And because of Brexit and whatever is happening in Europe, even they are not in that a good space. They are not importing that much anyways. But I think...
and here's the problem. We were told that GSP Plus is going to revolutionize our exports. We saw extraordinary decline in exports in the time of GSP Plus.
Because the reason is your input cost. If you ask the exporter, if you ask the manufacturer, right, ask him what's wrong. First of all, he wasn't even getting the inputs that were required. He wasn't getting gas, he wasn't getting electricity, he wasn't getting all that raw material, right?
Plus the tax.
Plus the tax, right? And once he was getting it, it has become so expensive. You cannot just counter it by devaluation or GSP plus.
So we can wish Asad Umar Sahab best of luck.
Of course.
And yet we can also, simultaneously, we have to pray that our luck also improves, right?
Yeah,
because
hopefully.
otherwise we keep on talking about good measures and we keep on appreciating them. But till the time they don't come together and there is a very holistic response things might not improve, right?
I think
is it true? I'm told that we are left with 3 minutes. So
I just want to say,
you have 1 minute of conclusion.
This is the holistic response that the country wanted. You had to incentivize the local business to do what is called Make in Pakistan.
No, I'm talking about the response of the business community as well. They have to respond, right?
So no, but he's right, Faisal is that, I mean, they must have something to respond. Now they have. They've been given tax breaks, they've been given tax holidays, they've been given credit, their tax base for the banks have been reduced. This is a holistic response. This is the response that's going to drive industry to produce more.
Right. And I take it as your conclusion. Very quickly.
I would say whatever this package is, this is just a carrot. You might see a stick coming in the budget, and government is trying to see how you
in 6 months.
How you're going to respond, and businesses need to respond. I think so. We have.
I think this government has set the direction that it is extremely pro-business and not just pro-big business. It's pro-agriculture and it's pro-small business.
Right. Yeah. Your conclusion.
I think the government was the government's narrative was that we want to an export-led growth in Pakistan.
Yes.
And they were trying to incentivize the exporters, giving them more incentives.
Right.
So nothing has been done yet. I think nothing concrete has been done. So they need to do something more on this.
Their power has been brought at par with Bangladesh and India. 5 core industries, that's a huge incentive.
Right.
There's a huge incentive for these people who are going to set up
but the energy and other inputs, the cost of doing business, all these
I
things
wanted
have to be
to
taken
have
into
this
account.
heated argument, but in the middle of program, not at the very end. Jalal Siddique Saab, thank you very much for your time. Haider Mahdi Saab, thank you very much for being here as well. Faisal Fateh, thank you. For being part of the program. Viewers, you have listened to our participants. One lesson I learned quite early on in life is most of the ideas are great, but you have to stick to certain ideas to keep on moving ahead. It is good to have flexibility, but the previous government showed us what inflexibility and then hastened, flexibility can do. One minister during the previous government had very different kind of priorities, and the next came and totally reversed them. At this moment, what we have to do is to look in a direction and keep moving. If you do, the world is round, you reach somewhere, even if you have to take the long route. Right now, it seems that we are taking the right direction. Let us hope in coming days it starts bearing fruit as well. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care. Lawmakers that we have this direct route as well. We can remind you on television.
Actually, today
I'm told that we have run short of time.
Just a minute. Today there was a bill, private member's bill by another parliamentarian on creating a public petitions committee.
Okay, that is a good idea.
So that will be the alternative.
I wish you had brought it up earlier in the program, but it is a great idea. Thank you very much for pointing it out. I'm told that we have run short of time. Rana Iradat Sharif Khan, thank you very much for your time. Ibrahim Khan Sahab, thank you very much for your time. Shah Khawar Sahab, thank you very much for educating us. Viewers, you have listened to our participants. Discussion of this sort is organic in the society. It has to continue. But sadly, somehow even the media, and let me talk about my own responsibility as a citizen as well, it seems that media finds these issues boring till the time something sad doesn't happen. And it needs to change. If you want to claim that you are not a phantom limb of the state, but you are the fourth pillar, will have to advocate, and advocacy will have to be organized. Otherwise, laws might not be created the way people want. We have to agitate, keep on reminding. If that doesn't happen, we will keep on searching that missing imagination that might have something to do with conscience of the society. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care. Everything has happened in this country. Absolutely. If we cannot see it coming, then it is our flaw.
We did not see terrorism financing coming till just recently. It's a very recent induction into our laws after the enactment of the money laundering laws, anti-money laundering laws. That is when we started addressing terrorism financing.
Right. Well, you want to add to this?
Yeah, I would say that we are just diverting our attention to, I think actually this is one incident happened. It's not that terrorism incidents have upswing. It's just a botched up operation it's a counter-terrorism operation actually. So what we need to do is, I think, it's a training and some strengthening of SOPs.
Right.
And looking at it again, what he has mentioned.
Actually, since you have been an IGP, you're looking at from up there, right? From the macro level. Being a citizen and a commoner, I see it from the micro level. And whether it is one botched up operation or not, there are three kids who are actually who have been traumatized, right? So I don't want to put myself in that position. I'm sure that others don't.
But that's exactly why I'm saying that the SOPs were wrong. They did something wrong. Okay. Their supervision was not good. Maybe their training was not good.
So what is the maximum punishment?
I see that what Osama has mentioned, that maybe, I cannot say actually.
Imprisonment.
Maybe. And another thing I want to add, the JIT, I think the 3 days were given. Tomorrow they have to, it's very...
Yeah, tomorrow at 5.
Tomorrow at 5.
CM
so
said,
it is, I mean, we sometimes, incident happens, then even there should be SOP for this, completing this thing, making a TOR for this JIT and then conducting inquiry, investigation takes a lot of time. Even the witnesses and everything. I was told that there were a few witnesses they couldn't see. So I mean, if they give an incomplete report, and also they are working under pressure, and the pendulum has swung other way. Okay. Now the pressure on GIT to just give them punishment, I recommend some harsh measures. That is also not required, I think.
Yeah, but GIT is not supposed to do it. It is basically, court which will tackle that matter. Before we conclude, let me talk about media's role as well. I wish we had representation from media. Do you think that media, whatever it is doing, you are satisfied with it?
No. I think that the media, as usual, has sensationalized. They have started a media trial. They have just forgotten about all the past complaints CTD. I have been also remained as active member and chairman
media
of Canberra.
Should be more responsible.
They are not. They are not following their code of conduct.
Right.
And they are sensationalizing things.
Right.
And actually, they are inciting to violence. So this is, I think, I don't see a good role in media.
Sir. Yeah. On that note, actually, I'm told that we have to conclude. Media might have actually done a good job in bringing up the matter, but after that, it has been downward movement. But sir, I'm told that we have to conclude the program. Kamaluddin Tipu Sahab, thank you very much for your time. Osama Azim Chaudhry, thank you very much for your time as well. I have already thanked the third guest who has left already, because this was today's program. In coming days, we'll keep on discussing this matter as much as possible. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.
NAB Special Prosecutor Akram Qureshi failed to satisfy the bench on legal grounds on the cancellation of the bail was being sought. Justice Asif Said Khosa observed that Nawaz Sharif is already behind bars and law favours women prisoners, while Captain Safdar has been awarded a small sentence. Now, Chief Justice Pakistan Saqib Nisar is addressing the gathering of police reforms. We'll take you live there again.
I can also not say with confidence that all the executive part has been free from extraneous considerations or even including a little bit of a corruption. I can't say with confidence. But I tell you one thing, that when the matters have come to the court of law, when those have been dealt by the judiciary in exercise of its power under the judicial review, all those vices which were detected, which were found in the administrative and executive limb of the state, I'm saying this with full confidence that those have been remedied and that has been corrected. But we at the same time have been telling the executive not to repeat these errors, not to keep on these defects in your judgments. For example, the defect of not giving a hearing, opportunity of hearing, not providing a person with the understanding of the legitimate expectation, the rules of promissory estoppel, the fairness, the transparency, all what we have been making a part or the ratio of our jurisprudence. Unfortunately, let me tell you, and I'm saying this, sir, with a little bit of sorrow and pain, that those have not been followed on the executive side. Same errors have been repeated time and again. Even today, in our criminal system, we find that the investigation was poor. For what reason? That the recovery of the empty and the recovery of the weapon, those have been collectively, simultaneously sent for the forensic examination, which has been one of the causes, which has been one of the reasons condemned, and on account of that, the prosecution had failed. But still today, we find this kind of a flaw in the investigation process. So I request, if it is not there, that the same committee may reconsider and please recommend for the creation of an academy, a proper process whereby the law which has been initiated by the superior courts of the country, on account of which the people have got the exonerations, they have been let free, that those lacunas or those defects are not repeated. And I'm sure this committee would take cognizance, and I'm very sure that the academies accordingly would stand established for that purpose. My dear gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, rather, we have done to our best. Dr. Rahim had yet still been telling you about how many matters had been taken.
Well, Chief Justice Pakistan, Justice Saqib Nisar, was addressing a ceremony regarding police reforms, and he did mention that the justice system still needs a major overhaul as well. But he said that we work tirelessly to bring reforms not only in the judicial system, but also criminal investigation, and also police reforms that need to help the general public as well. And he also talked about providing justice to poor segments of society as well. And he also mentioned that the Police Reforms Committee in this regard has been instrumental in bringing reforms in this Police Reforms Committee as well. Now, moving on to other news. Information Minister Chaudhry Fawad Hussain has said that Supreme Court's verdict is absolutely correct on legal grounds. The minister in his tweet said that cancellation of a bail requires extraordinary grounds. He said the verdict will not change the actual situation. The minister said Nawaz Sharif's politics has now ended forever and PMLN should elect its new leadership.
Now, the advisor to Prime Minister for Commerce and Industry, Abdul Razak Dawood, called on Prime Minister Imran Khan in Islamabad. MD Utility Stores Corporation Zulkarnain Ali Khan was also present on the occasion. Federal Minister for Food and Security Sahibzada Mohammad Mehboob Sultan also called on Prime Minister Imran Khan. They discussed matters pertaining to Ministry of Food and Security.
President Arif Alvi has said the government is giving priority to the health sector. Addressing a ceremony in Islamabad, he said that the launch of Health Card is a major step in the health sector to provide better and cheaper facilities to the citizens. He added that for uplifting the health sector, public-private partnership is necessary. He said stunted growth is a major challenge for the government and therefore 45% of population is facing malnutrition. The President proposed that Fitness Day should be observed to promote awareness about the importance of healthy activities. He also said telemedicine should be adopted officially.
The Supreme Court has sought a comprehensive report from the government over agreements made with independent power producers. The court directed the Federal Minister for Power to submit a detailed report on the validity of agreements with the IPP, whether the agreement serves the country's interest and possible impact on international arbitration. The state of the proceedings, Chief Justice observed the government continues to pay the IPP regardless of they produce electricity or not. The Federal Minister admitted that the government has to make capacity payments to IPP as per the agreements. The hearing was adjourned indefinitely.
Federal Minister for Power Umar Ayub Khan says alternative energy policy will be announced in 2 months. Talking to journalists outside the Supreme Court, he said energy policies of the previous governments are also